Hey everybody, welcome to Behind the Music. And this week we have Colin Peters, a well-known bass player, very talented guy from Birmingham, and we are going to be talking to him about his journey through music. So at this time, I'm going to hand over to Jeff. And again, thank you for tuning in this week. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you watching the show and listening on GX Livestream. Jeff, take it away, bro.
Thanks, Clive, and I'd like to kind of welcome Colin as well to these broadcasts, and to thank you all for joining in. And if you do have anything that you want to say, please just drop us a line in the chat, and we'll pick up what you're saying and we'll pass those on. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Colin Peters, famous bass player.
Hey,
Colin, good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Awesome. I should say cousin Jeff.
There we go. Yeah, listen, I've got to admit, Colin is my cousin. His mom was my mom's sister, oldest sister. So, me and Colin go back a long way. We're family, man. So, Colin, what I want you to do is just welcome you to just share your journey with us on music. So, I'm going to just ask you, so how did it all begin? Where did you start playing music?
Well, I'm kind of glad that you're here to have to concur or disagree. It actually started with you.
Well, this is interesting.
Yeah, because we used to, obviously our parents used to sing a lot together. And I remember there was one occasion where we was at your house and we would sit in the middle room. Not the front room, the middle room, and Mom and Dad would be singing, and you'd be plucking out some dingy bing, and I would be like dum 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 dum, you know. And it kind of started from there. And I think when we started to go Nietzsche's church, I remember when we first bought the building at Nietzsche's.
Yeah.
I remember you was all saying, well, we had that guitarist called Dolphus Clark.
Yes.
And you was always, you was the eldest one, you'd always dominate by saying, well, I'm Dolphus. And I was the younger one, so I had to be Harvey, the younger brother. So you kind of claim rights to who you wanted to be, who you wanted to mimic. So it kind of started there because you was mimicking Dolphus playing guitar, and I was obviously mimicking Harvey, who was the bass player. And it kind of started there, and then obviously there was a transition where my dad was made a minister. We left Nietzsche's, and then, man, I was thrown into this place called Saltley, where the music was horrendous.
Oh my days!
No, it was horrendous.
What in what way?
So imagine the song's in C.
Yeah.
And the guitarist is playing in E.
Oh, you kidding me?
And he can't tell he's out of key, bruv.
What? No,
and I wasn't even playing then, bro. I was about 10. It's like, yo, that don't sound right. And it was a situation where it was like, I'm gonna have to pull some rank here. So I remember one day, because my dad was the minister. I'm not gonna give the guy's name because that would be, I'm sure Jeff would probably know. So I had to say to the guy, listen, give me 12 weeks and then I don't want to see you playing again in church.
Wow.
Oh, man,
that is serious.
Yeah, it was that bad, bro.
Oh my God.
So I remember getting an acoustic guitar, learnt some notes. But I think by then now, Jeff was like, I hope I'm not dropping you on it, man, but Jeff was into like a band called Spyro Gyra.
Yes, I remember Spyro Gyra. Yeah.
And Jeff was playing this rhythm. It's like, Jimmy, Jimmy. And I was like, my God, because where you learn that from? So I go to. I remember. Do you remember when we used to go to? I used to go to your house every Friday. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Clive, trust me, this guy was unbelievable, trashing out these tracks, and I could just about make out these notes.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. It inspired me not to go back home and practice.
Mm-hmm.
But Jeffrey was way ahead, man. He was way ahead of the game. You know, I can't remember how what. You might have been about 11, 12, Jeff.
Yeah, I kind of remember those days, and it's really funny because if anybody was to say to me, kind of, and I know this is my interview, but if anybody was to say to me, what influenced your music and what you listen to, I would have to point to Colin and say, I remember bits of this where we used to meet up actually in Colin's bedroom. We only lived kind of like quarter of a mile away from each other. So I used to go there and he used to come down there, and I remember he bought one. It was a Sony.
The Pioneer. And I tell you what, Colin, you was like playing stuff, and I'd go to his house and say, listen to this. He's playing Jaco Pastorius. He's playing Marcus Miller. He's playing the Johnson Brothers. The Louis Johnson.
Colin really
had similar. It seems like you guys had similar type of experiences, like what I had.
Right.
Because the church I was in, bass player Kingsley Blake was very much into Marcus Miller. You know Kingsley, right?
Yeah, I know very well. Yeah,
right. Very much into Marcus Miller and Mark King, Level 42.
Yeah.
You know, and the chops. Oh my days,
chops, man.
He had this music, man. This black bass. Oh, sweetest sound.
I didn't have a music man, Clive. I had this bass.
Mm-hmm.
It never had a name, and I think there was a reason why it never had a name. It was terrible, man. But he got me through. Man.
Yeah.
He got me through, man.
Definitely.
First instruments, man. Yeah, Jeff.
Sorry. So basically, that was, Jeff says he was influenced by me, but I was heavily influenced by him, and we had the very same taste. We go to each other's house, especially the two of us.
Yeah.
And obviously he's a guitarist, I'm a bass player, so he's picking out the guitar beats and I'm picking out the bass beats. And it developed from there. I think one of the things that I'm quite proud about actually is that when we were listening to music at such a young age, and when I look at the credits of, even like with some of the Andre Crouch stuff we was listening to, the musicians we were listening to are still the best today.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Abel Borels and Marcus Millers, Lee Ritners, George Benson's. They're still best today. No one's topped these guys.
Nah.
Yeah.
And we were listening to these guys from a very early age, not even knowing. I mean, I picked up an Andre Crouch album the other day called Finally. And I looked at the credits because I bought the album on CD and I bought it. And I looked at the credits and it's got Nathan East.
Yeah.
Joe Sample.
And people
Paul
don't
Jackson
know
Jr.
this.
Yeah, they don't, man.
It's been around on the gospel scene for a long time.
Yeah.
It was Kingsley that introduced me to Koinonia.
Koinonia.
Koinonia, and what happened was not Cody, but it is so important because people don't know these guys. Some of these guys are actually born again Christians as well.
Yeah.
And they are some of the most sought after session musicians in the world.
Definitely.
Abe Laboriel. I remember the Old Grey Whistle Test. Never forget that show when Kingsley first spoke to him about Koinonia, and I sat up one night watching. I just happened to realize they were going to be on the Old Grey Whistle Test one night, and I sat watching that show from start to finish. And the thing that got me, I thought I was mesmerized from the start to the end. It was the end. Abraham did this lick, and the show ended with him doing the splits up in the air.
Bro, that guy.
And I thought,
No, he's
food is to eat. That's more than soul food, mate. To keep that.
I'm saying we kind of grew up on that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I used to mimic. Jeff will probably tell us to mimic people like Lewis Johnson,
Yeah.
Marcus Miller, Anthony Jackson.
Yeah.
Listening to these guys for when I was like, I remember when I was at school. Funny enough, I was at school, and guys would say, "Yeah, man, have you heard of Tim Brooke or whatever?" I said, "Nah, brother, I'm into Anthony Jackson. Who's he?"
Yeah.
You know, that's how early I was listening to these guys, and
Yeah.
you know, to this day, those guys are still at the top of the game. There's no one's topped these guys. No one's topped these guys. So what was great was that the education of music that we had back then has stood the test of time. So I think what that's done is made me hopefully quite relevant, even in these times, because these guys are very relevant. And you know, that's as good as any university you're going to go to. You know, if you grow up with that kind of caliber of musicians, you can't really go wrong.
Colin, that's a great point. I wanted to kind of just take you on actually to you've obviously mentioned some great guys, but you've played with some pretty big names yourself in the music industry over the years. So are there any particular artists, and I know you've mentioned some, but any particular artists you've played with or done stuff with that really stands out for you?
Well, I'm a bit of a modest guy, you know. I don't really like to blag and stuff. I like when people just, oh, did I? So, for example, I mean, I was with Misha Paris for 2 years. I was with Jackie Graham. I MD'd Jackie Graham. I MD'd Heatwave. I was with Junior Giscombe.
Junior, back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, Junior back in the day. In fact, still with him now.
Okay.
Misha. I actually done Daniel Bedingfield, Natasha Bedingfield.
Okay.
The biggest stage though that I've been on was the X Factor, because I've done the X Factor for 5 years.
Okay.
Where I was doing the behind the scenes stuff and the live shows. You know, which was actually, tell a lie, the biggest one show was 2008.
I know what you're gonna say.
The Eurovision Song Contest.
Oh, you're joking me.
That's the one.
Yes, I was playing with Andy Abrahams, who was actually on the X Factor, and he came second. And he was kind of developing his personal career. I'd done his tour, and then he got asked to represent Britain to do the Eurovision Song Contest. It was between him and Michelle Gale, actually.
Okay.
And he won. And because we'd done it with a band, they had to bring the same outfit to the Eurovision Song Contest, which was in was it Prague? Yeah. So we had to go out for 9 days with the old Terry Wogan was the host then.
Oh my days.
We done and we was the first and only band to have ever represented Britain with an actual band. We weren't playing live, but you know, we you know, so that was in front of 150 million people live. So that's the biggest one-off show I've done.
It's just, what you just said there. You see, people listening in,
they
probably just realised something. What you just, unless they missed that, you weren't playing live. I don't think a lot of people realise what actually takes place in these live shows. And that when we say,
shall I keep that secret? Then shall I keep that secret? Well, it's like Top of the Pops. It's like I've done Top of the Pops loads of times, and people said, "That wasn't G, bruv. I was playing G. You were playing G."
They're watching the record. They know where you are.
They know where I'm at, man. Like, no, I wasn't playing, man.
What's going on here? What sort of tuning is that?
This is the thing, guys. We're talking about the stuff behind the music, so this is what's really
behind the music.
Behind the music.
However, I have done a few songs of praise. I've done a few of them as well, and a few other BBC programs. And actually, just want to quick mention a great friend of mine, Paul Reed, who passed away Christmas Day. You know, I've played with so many artists with this guy. We've travelled the world. I mean, the last gig we done was with Sean Escoffery. We done a 3-day run. Yeah, and I missed the guy, you know, because he's been very funny enough, Jeff. After you got great, and you was and Terry, after Jeff got great, I actually got lumbered with Paul Reed. He was the next guy that started to come to the house. Okay. And there was another guy actually who Jeff will concur was a guy who we both have admiration for. Is a guy called Peter Cunningham.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Who really pushed us.
Yeah.
Both of us. This guy could play everything and anything.
Yeah, definitely.
And very well.
Definitely.
And I had 3 great guitarists in my mix. I had Jeff, Peter, and Paul. Well, that sounds like Bible. Anyway, Jeff, Peter, and Paul. I sound like Jesus in it with his disciples.
You know.
But yeah, these guys, and I'm telling you, they were the best. They're the best guitarists.
Oh man,
anybody could have started a career with. Yeah, definitely.
Listen, I don't want this to sound like a family loving because it's like it at the moment.
Sorry, man. Sorry, I'm Jeff.
Listen, which is absolutely great, and you know, I'm just honoured, and I mean that in the real word, to be sort of graced by and being Colin's kind of history because I've learned so much from him. But what I wanted to do, I know we're going to be wrapping up soon, but what I wanted to do is just a couple of things we wanted to talk about. Muiwa is a very good song singer and a songwriter, premium radio presenter.
That's right. Yeah.
The 70 million people in in world audience, and I know that he plays kind of a lot of different kind of world music styles from sort of African influence, Caribbean and Asian. Just want to ask, what is how do you feel about playing that variety of music, and what's the biggest challenge?
For me, music is music. It doesn't. I know people talk about genres and all that. I get it, but I don't, because I just love music. If it sounds good, I want to be part of it. Funny enough, going to Clive now, we've got a mutual friend in Julian Brown.
Oh yeah.
And Andrew Smith, another great guitarist.
Yeah.
These guys I kind of grew up with as well in church. They were London based, but these guys have been like really good friends, and they would always, Cole, we got a gig. You fancy doing the gig? You know, you sure? Yeah. But I'm in Birmingham, guys. Can't you find no one in London? Yeah, but you're our brethren, man. Come down. No, seriously, these guys, you know, in this industry, it's not just about how good you are. It's how many good friends you got.
Yes.
I kid you not. It's an element of being lucky with having great people that, you know, that can kind of help you, string you along. So, yeah, playing with Muiwa was great because he had such a big audience. It made me play with some of my favorite musicians from all over the world. He's got some great African musicians, unbelievable. I'm telling you, you know, Africa is on the map, man. Again, funny enough, Africa's on the map again. These guys are talented beyond measure. Shout out to Guzzi. Forgot some of the names, but yeah, and Muiwa himself. And I think Muiwa is an innovator because I think his sound, you know, when people listen to like a lot of the new sound, like Kurt Franklin, I think Muiwa was one of the first to do it because Muiwa's not really the best singer in the world, but it's the way he articulates his tracks. Yeah. He was doing it before Kurt Franklin and them guys. So I think that sound is very innovative. If I'm wrong, forgive me, but it's just the way I've kind of seen how music's kind of developed. And there is actually some evidence to what I'm saying, but that will maybe leave that for another show.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, we're going to have to wrap up soon, but Colin, is obviously we're going to have you back on, and I think, you know, like I said, this is just the second time, our second show, and we are finding our feet. We plan to go a long way with this, what we're doing behind the music, about musicians, for musicians, by musicians. So we really hope you've enjoyed listening in today, meeting Colin Peters. Listen, I can't wait to get back to the Jam House
Yeah.
We wanted to touch on that, but listen, the Jam House in Birmingham, Gospel Central. If you
We're coming back.
guys-
It's coming back. It's coming back.
coming back, yeah,
Yeah.
it's coming back.
Yeah,
So
man.
listen,
And you
Colin,
guys are always welcome. Always welcome.
listen, I can't wait to get down
man.
there. I
You
can't
know-
wait to get down
Yeah,
there.
yeah, man.
But listen, Colin, we're gonna have you back.
Yeah, man.
We're gonna have you back because I think we need to talk about the Jam House
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the ethos behind it, so
Yeah.
people know really what's going on in Birmingham. There is an oasis in Birmingham on a Wednesday they can go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amen. God bless you, man. Listen, people, we thank you for tuning in, whether it is on GX Radio live stream or YouTube. Thank you very much. And for those of you that subscribed last week, we thank you very much. God bless you. Until next week, same time, please come back. We will be back with another gospel musician. God bless you.